All right, we've got, I believe we're broadcasting, and I'd like to call the order the Board of Adjustment for April the 25th, 2023. And we will start with the stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Those words are very important. Indivisible, with liberty and justice, and with due regard to our Almighty God. May what we do here be pleasing to that God. May we do our civic duties as well, and may we come to the right conclusion. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. The minutes of the previous meeting are in the packet. That has been a while.
Yes, it has. I don't think I was even here, so that's why I said, I don't know.
Okay, I think we that's pretty clear. All right. A motion has been made that the minutes be approved. I'm not sure. Did we decide that the Board of Adjustment didn't have to have a second, Madam Clerk?
I don't think, yeah, we don't have to have a second.
Okay. All right, any discussion of the motion to approve the minutes? Okay, if you will approve the minutes of the meeting of July the 26th, 2022, then please raise your right hand. It's unanimously approved. Okay. All right. We, in an evidentiary hearing, we do need to receive testimony. So if you're going to testify in this hearing, would you please come forward to the clerk and she will swear you in. All right. There is an application. I'll go ahead and include your testimony in the hearing. Would you present to us the essence of this hearing, please, sir?
Okay, you have an application for Mr. Tyrone Cobb, who owns a set of townhouse apartments at, get the right address.
353 East William Street.
353 East William Street. The structures were built in 1994 after a special use permit was approved in 1993. The original intent was to subdivide these into luxury townhomes.
Okay, what did the special use permit provide for condos, or for regular apartments, or for townhouses? Do you have it? Or?
I don't have the original special use permit, but in the information here, the request is to subdivide into for the townhouse subdivision.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt, but I have the original permit.
Okay.
And I also have the original board member meeting when it was approved.
Okay, could you present this to us now for?
I've got one copy I'll hand around, but
Okay.
back then we did not Mr. Hicks is saying is true. I built those at a
I'm gonna come up here.
Yeah, I was trying to say, we need to get to the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
at a much higher expense to build those as a townhouse. There was no differentiation between that.
All right. We'll receive your information as preliminary to your testimony and reserve the right for Mr. Hicks to continue his summary.
Give me just a second, guys.
Okay. Well, you had to wait for us, so it's only fair.
This is the minute. This, what I circled was the public hearing, and this, the conditional use permit.
Okay, I'll read it into the record. This is March 8, 1992, Town Hall at 7 o'clock. They met a little later back then. Regular meeting with Mayor Jack Marley presiding. Commissioners were Jimmy Johnson, Edgar Lee, and Bob Stivender. Town manager John Moore, town clerk Gene Matthews, and town attorney Ray Pleasant. And on the second page, it says the public hearing was opened on the property of Honeycutt and Searles. After all discussion was heard, Edgar Lee made a motion to rezone the property as requested to R6 with a conditional use permit for multifamily dwellings. Robert Stivender seconded this motion and carried. The hearing was closed. All right, and then there's an Anger. It says Anger. I'll pass these around. Why don't you start down there? It's special. A notice of conditional use permit, March 3rd, 1992. Apparently, it was heard on that prior date, extended date. Corner of Hickory and William Street. The special condition was extended until September 94. And the town of Anger telephone number and conditional use findings. They look very much like what we look at today, that the use is listed among the conditional uses for the district. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the surroundings. Requested use is essential or desirable to public convenience. The requested use will be in conformity with land use plan. Adequate utilities, access roads, drainage have been provided. Adequate measures will be taken to provide ingress and egress, and the conditional use shall, in all respect, conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, signed by the town clerk. All right. Okay, so that's good. So at least we established when this started. If you'll have a seat just a minute, if you can finish up.
I apologize for interrupting.
No, we're just trying to get this done right. So this is not necessarily the way we always do it, but
I think where we are now, he did submit an application for the special use permit on March the 1st of this year. And townhomes are permitted in the R10 district with a special use permit if conditions found in the zoning ordinance and for multifamily residentials are met, which this does. The 2021 land use map shows this area as medium density residential.
which is R10.
Sorry.
Which is R10.
Yeah, which is R10.
Okay.
Townhomes fall into the medium to high density designation. The petitioner has contacted applicable local, state, and federal agencies regarding building, fire, and other possible code compliance issues. The structures listed in the Harnett County Register of Deeds. As I mentioned earlier, the 28 structures were built in 1994 and were originally conceived as individually deeded townhomes, but the builder at that time chose not to do so. It meets all of the dumpster requirements, the landscape requirements, meets all the zoning requirements. The only difference is he is now wanting to subdivide each individual unit into a separate parcel. There are no parking issues. There's no change in the use other than if they are subdivided, they would be owned individually as opposed to being rented as apartments. So the staff feels like all of the ordinances are being met. The only request is to subdivide each parcel into a separate parcel. I think when he met with Randall, I think Randall's concern was due to the time of the original request in March of 2023, he felt like that to be on the safe side, maybe we should issue a new special use permit. He currently has a special use permit. There normally are no expiration dates on those special use permits. There was no expiration date on that one. I think when he first met with Sean, Sean's interpretation was, well, it was approved in 1994, you're good to go. Well, by the time he got closer to the issue, Sean was gone, Randall was here, and he said, no, I think you need to go back and get a new special use permit, so that we make sure all the bases are covered. So that's sort of where we are today. And I'll try and answer any questions. I know Randall and I talked about it several times, and in my personal opinion, everything seems to be in order. I don't think it does not appear to be an unreasonable request. I think it meets all the conditions of our ordinances and the zoning classification. So I think it's more technical in nature whether or not you feel like it does require a new special use permit.
Well, what would that hurt?
Nothing.
Since we're all here,
Yeah,
I
nothing.
mean, seems like it would close the door.
Yeah.
But anyway, any questions?
Sign on it on a second time. I think that answers all the questions.
Second time's a charm. Okay. Any questions of Richard?
No.
And I'm sure the building codes were just as strict as they are now as they were back then.
Well, they were built with the necessary firewalls at
That was
the time, so they could be subdivided. So,
gotcha. Perfect.
but I think you called and checked if there were any restrictions on current building codes or anything. So I'll let him answer that question.
Okay. All right. Mr. Cobb, were you mayor prior or after that?
After the original permit was issued, so I wasn't there when that was
Okay.
at some point in time here, purchase and completion, I walked.
Okay.
And that's one reason I kept all that. I did that one day.
Smart.
I'm a hoarder. So, I'm going to pass this around, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor. This is just, and may I speak? Hi, Cobb, Andrew. I live 2412 Sheriff Johnson Road, Lillington at the moment. Thank you guys, by the way. Thank you, Mr. Hicks, for coming out. I see I'm the only person here, so I made you give up your dinner tonight, so I do apologize for that. But going back to the special use permit, when I first approached Sean about this, I want you all to read his email to me. He did not think this was necessary. He thought that it was be grandfathered in because we weren't building anything, we weren't adding driveways, we weren't turning a shovel full of dirt. It's just a technical issue, like I indicated in my application. I had an illness in my family in the fall. I couldn't proceed with the process. And when I got ready to get started back, Sean was leaving.
Yeah.
So that slowed up the process quite a bit. My sister was very sick and passed away late in the year last year, so I really didn't want to do this while she was in that circumstance. But anyway, thank you, Commissioner Hawley. When I went back, and I have no ill will towards Mr. Cahoon Tingle, because if I were new in a position, I think I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, this way he wouldn't have to answer to anything about anybody saying you've done it wrong. So I understand his concern and why he wanted me to go through it. I wasn't very happy with it at the time, but after I talked with him a while, he said he saw no problems with it. And even before he left, he said, I'm going to put you on the first of the agenda. I didn't know I was the only person, but he said, I'll put you on there and you'll be out in no time. All he said was have your HOA and covenants and restrictions in place, and make sure you've got all your mapped easements, which we have all that. That's why Lester's here if you had any questions about the easements. We've got all utility easements, maintenance easements, all of that is in place. Obviously not recorded because we wait, but it's all been mapped. And we also have the HOA regulations and the covenants and restrictions. And Will Pope's ready for me to get back with him to tell him to, go ahead with the process. So I don't know if you guys got to saw my application, but on the very last page, I don't want to bore you, but it says additional comments. These buildings were built originally as townhouses. I put separate meters, electric meters, water meters, separate sewer, separate, cable vision. Everything was built just like a home, just like a house, okay? And the firewalls, all the building codes were met for a townhouse, not an apartment. It's much cheaper to build an apartment because you don't do it that way, okay? So I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't planning on splitting the properties up like that.
This way you don't hear the baby crying next door as well.
Right. Exactly right. So they passed all the building codes, and so there's no problems for that part. And I think Mr. Hicks mentioned this, but this is just a technical issue. It does not affect the surrounding property owners. It doesn't affect the residents. It does not increase traffic. It does not increase water runoff. It does not change any trash collection. It doesn't require any more police protection. All it will do, if anything, is increase the value of the property and the surrounding properties. Maybe. Now that I can't guarantee, but some people would assume individually owned units may be more valuable than an apartment unit. So I'm just working on that assumption. The rest is factual. So again, not asking for anything, but just to complete my original special use permit request. Any questions from anyone?
Now, are you going to keep the HOA in place?
I'm going to put it in place, yeah.
So it's going to stay
Yeah,
when they're subdivided?
exactly.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah, we
have
don't
one.
have one
Well,
now.
got-
I'll put that in place. Listen, I want them to be just as nice as they are now,
Another question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what about the tenants that are there now? Are they going to?
Miss Hawley, I'll be quite frank with you. I've not shared this because I didn't know how it was going to turn out, obviously. I don't have immediate plans to do it, but I'm 65. And my wife's pressuring me to maybe not work so hard, Miss Ollie. So, you know, I can foresee in the future that I may do something differently. And like I said, I originally went to quite a bit of expense to do it this way in the beginning. So I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row when the time does come.
Exactly.
So, legitimate question, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a jurisdictional issue here. We only have 5 members of the commission. Another member is on the way, but she will not have heard the evidence. With the 6 members. Okay, so just 5. So we're okay. All right.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney, is that all right? I didn't hear him say otherwise, so I think we're okay. Yeah. Okay. Why don't you, so why don't you fill that out with any other information you want to give us?
I'll answer any questions that you might would have of me, but it really, like I mentioned earlier, I think this is just a technical issue. There's nothing's changing, you know. Looking back on it, I wish I'd have went ahead and divided them at the time. I wouldn't have gone through this, but like Mr. Hicks said, you know, you don't lose your special use permit. You know, I always had that. I did have substantial improvement because they were all built. You know, I just didn't expect. I expected what Sean said. I did not expect what Mr. Cahoon Tingle said. But when he said that, rather than come to each of you and complain or go to Mr. Hicks and complain, I did not do that. I understood why he said that. He wanted to be safe, and I went along with it. So
We appreciate you.
yeah. Thanks.
Well, there's one concern I have. The approval was done almost 30 years ago. Suppose there had been significant changes in the law. Do you think the 30-year-old approval would override those completely?
I don't think it would matter because they're already there. They're already occupied. All the other townhomes in town that were built back then, not all, several have already been subdivided. They did not have to go through the process that I'm going through. They were just subdivided after the fact. The actual builder of mine subdivided his after the fact. It was not an issue. So regardless, they met all the code when the original permit was written. And, you know, that's, you know, all I can say for that.
Would you be against us having a special condition that would just ensure that the buildings meet current requirements?
Mr. Mayor, I respectfully would rather go on my original permit. I don't understand, you know, what might cause that. There'd be a problem
Okay.
with that. You know, I would certainly want to put the HOA in effect. Certainly want to make sure all the easements are there, but it won't change anything about them. You know, whether what we do, because I can't do anything other than what they're there. You know.
But nothing has been, what has been recorded other than just a plat?
There's no recording of the plots or I paid for them. I've run the bill up on it, but I've not recorded it yet. You know.
I'm sorry, I'm an attorney. I apologize. It concerns me a little bit that after all this passage of time, you know.
Well, when I originally talked to Sean and we looked at the plans and I showed him the plans, then he wrote me that. So, again, I'm assuming, you know, personally that's, you know, we're going on the what Sean said originally. You know, he saw all that. I brought the plans to him. He looked at it. He said he thought it would be grandfathered.
Okay. Well, he certainly represented the town in that regard. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to kind of protect you from issues. Okay. Why don't we go on to other questions if there are any?
This has nothing to do with approving it one way or the other. I'm just curious. You just said, Ty, since and I don't know that I would have been here even for that. What other townhomes have been converted from rentals to breaking them up and selling them? Just, I'm curious.
Ron Gibson built the townhomes that were right beside Andrew Paint Wallpaper. Okay, they're the very same plan. As a matter of fact, Ron used my plan. He built mine first, then he went over there and built those. Okay, he kept them for a while. I can't give you the exact dates, but he kept them for a while. Then he sold them a few individually, and then he wound up. He sold a few individually to Don Lane, and then eventually he bought them all, and then eventually he bought your place down there where your dad had. And then the second one that I know of was on South Raleigh Street. Those are the ones that are right across from the little convenience store. Des Langdon built those, kept those, then later divided them and sold those individually to people. And there were maybe 4 different owners of those at the time. And one of the owners has sold recently. I don't know if you guys have noticed the sign out there, but it's right beside the corner grill, that's set there. Yeah.
With that, you said different people bought them. Were they then continuing to rent what they didn't sell?
Some did, and some lived there.
Because I didn't even know that Lane had turned his into individual properties.
Ron did that.
Or Ron. No, I thought for some reason that this Papadopoulos gentleman had bought those as well.
And he could have, but that was a couple years ago. These are these are the Gibson properties, and you can see the little lines there indicate that those have been sold individually.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are, and guys, I'll show you all this if you'd like. These are they call them South Raleigh Street townhomes, and you'll notice that the lines in there individually where they divided those up. Units 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Can you describe each segment legally? I mean, is it a record? Will it be a recorded plat?
They're all
Okay.
recorded. Yeah.
This is already recorded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these two are recorded. And as a matter of fact, Lester did one of them. I don't think they're recorded.
Okay.
And so that's what I seek to do.
Ty, I'm going to interrupt 1 second. I'm going to get you to go back to the mic. We're having people maybe online saying they can't hear you. So we're bad about strolling too.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's all right. No.
Those two units were later divided individually, just exactly like what I'm requesting.
My next question after that was going to be, because I don't know how that works, I'm just curious, when they are divided and sold like that, does it in any way, and I don't know if there's anybody can answer this, does it in any way increase the tax revenue from them? I mean, you know what you're paying on them right now as a tax value every year. Would that increase in any way by when they're subdivided and sold as individual units?
Good question.
My assumption would be, Alan, is that when one is sold, that is recorded, the price that the person paid for it, and then they base the tax value on that the next time they do the
Which is probably up.
reevaluation, which would be up.
And you would have paid only for the, in a sense, amortizing the rental, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, is the fact that individually they would be worth more than the group together. So that's why and I said earlier, I can't promise that, but I can assume that the value would be greater for each one. When it's sold, it'll go to the county. They'll record it as being sold, and then that'll be a higher tax value on it. As far as the surrounding property goes, it wouldn't have any negative effect because there's no increase in density.
No.
There's no increase in people. There's no increase in traffic. But I can't help but think that if the property itself increased in value, that it would have a positive effect and not a negative effect on the surrounding property.
Well, I hear what you're saying. It's not changing anything whatsoever. The people that would live there, the amount of traffic, anything, it's all going to remain the exact same. I was just curious if it would increase tax revenue.
I think it would for us anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, being individual compared to,
And you know, listen, I'm not, certainly, I appreciate y'all's time. But even with this, I started this in 1st of March, and it's the end of April, you know. So,
Right.
I do appreciate you guys hearing me. And,
Okay.
I'd like to get
Weird.
it put to bed as quick as possible.
Weird.
So,
Yeah.
$500 per, and,
Yeah. We're at something of a disadvantage in that we don't have our planning person here. But incidentally, you said the structure is in the registered deeds, deed book 1092-337. What is that just the property, or does that include the structures?
is that in the application?
Yes.
That's probably alluding to the property and the structure. You know, I'm taxed on 4 buildings on 2.3 or 4 acres of land, you know. So I'm assuming it's everything that's there.
Okay, I
Land,
guess.
building. I'm sure
Excuse me.
that's what it is.
Excuse me. What I'm trying to get to is that there's no recorded plat of the individual units on, so that would be done now.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to happen once it's approved. Lester has them mapped out already, and then we will, we'll record them at the Register of Deeds office.
Can you describe them individually, Lester? Yes, sir. Okay. Well, hey, if Lester says it, it must be right. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we
All right.
followed all the instructions we were given, and from Mr. Cahoon Tingle, which was map all the easements, divide all the property, have the covenants and restrictions and the HOA. And like I said, I had asked him actually several times from March 1st to last week whenever he left, what else do I need? The answer was always just what I told you.
Okay. Do you happen to have that plat with you, Lester? Or okay. No,
I think we sent it to Mr. Coon. I mean, he.
Okay.
It's in the planning office.
All right.
Yeah, we sent that.
Well, I apologize for you showing up in between times here. We are not as sharp as we would normally be, so I apologize for that. Anything else, board? Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Cobb?
Thank you for your time.
All right. Good enough. Okay. Well, I'll close the hearing unless there's anything else. Okay, board. What do you want to say?
I make a motion that we approve the special use permit for Tyrone Cobb for Lake Park Luxury Townhome Apartments.
Okay. Don't we have to do the findings?
Oh, yes.
Why don't you, let's do them all at once.
Yes, please.
And so read it the way you think it should be approved.
Okay, you want me to go with the first one?
Yes.
Okay, A, the requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the surrounding or adjoining districts.
Okay. B,
I'm sorry, I'm looking for the page to
There
even
it
find
is.
it here
it's
myself.
at the end of the
Yeah.
attachments.
Oh, I gotcha. The request will not be detrimental to the health and morals or welfare.
Okay, C. Okay, well, I'll read it. Adequate utilities, access, streets, drainage, sanitation, and other necessary facilities have been made or are being provided. And then D. Okay. Cass?
The adequate measures have not been, have or have
Have.
not been. So will be have, been,
Folks have been getting in there.
yeah, been or has been taken to provide ingress and egress designed as minimum traffic congestion in other public streets.
Okay. I'll do the last one, that the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it's located, except as such regulation may in each instance be modified by the Board of Adjustment. So are there any modifications by the Board of Adjustment?
I don't see any.
No.
Hearing none. All right. Okay, so your motion is that we proceed based on those findings by the Board of Adjustment. There's a motion to do that by Ms. Hawley. Are there any other issues of discussion or anything? Okay.
I vote
All in favor of approving Ms. Hawley's motion, please raise your hand. I guess I'll have to vote yes. Okay. It's 5 votes, Madam Clerk. All right. After 28 years, you're free. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for going through our questions. This was a little unusual. Well, this is the safest way to proceed. I think you're now covered. So,
Thanks, Todd.
all right.
Thank you.
Do you want these things
Oh.
back?
Ty,
Ty, do you want these back or?
I hope I don't need them 28 years from now.
Yep. Madam Clerk, do you need copies of these?
If you need anything, call me.
I read it into the record, so. All right. I believe that's all we need to do.
all right, I make a motion that we adjourn.
All in favor, get up and leave. Or at least get up. Looks like it's almost unanimous.